A moment.
Hello, people. This is Frank Donga, and you're listening to Smooth Breakfast.
The Smooth Breakfast presents the headlines, the stories, the news, in-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
That might almost end up being the only story today.
Love music, love life. It's now 31 minutes past 7 o'clock, and you are welcome to Freshly Pressed right here on Smooth 98.1. It's about time for us to get into the in depth analysis, comprehensive analysis of some of the major news from Nigeria dailies. And you're welcome to join the conversation. The WhatsApp line to send your messages to is 0809 4440981. Again, 0809 4440981. You can join us on YouTube where we're streaming live, and that is at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. At Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My name is Oluwaseun Olusegun, and joining me in the studio this morning, I do have Lakunle Yusuf, who is on Twitter at Lakunle70. Good morning.
Good morning, Loashio. Good morning, our special guest. It's good to see you again after a while. Good morning, Lagos, and let's have a serious conversation this morning.
Yes, it's going to be a serious conversation. Of course, you heard his voice already. Thank you for joining me this morning, Chetan Wanze, who is on Twitter at Checkster.
Good morning. If memory serves me, it's no longer Twitter, it's X.
Some old habits die hard.
Don't let Elon hear you. He will just ban you permanently.
He'll be fine. And joining us virtually is Divo Okori, who's not on Twitter. Good morning, Divo.
Lagos, Smooth, World, Lakunle, Shell, Eku,
Finish it.
state of emergency.
Well, Cheta is here with us. Now we are going to get started with the state of emergency, and chances are that you're already aware of this information. This was as a result of the speech, the nationwide broadcast to the nation that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made yesterday. So from Daily Post, Rivers crisis, Tinubu declares state of emergency, suspends Fubara for 6 months. Who is going to bail the cats?
Well, the Daily Post, it's not only Fubara that he suspended. He suspended the deputy
Hello,
governor.
Shell, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear it clearly.
He suspended not only Fubara,
Well,
but the deputy
I
governor
call this
and
season 3, episode 4 of the Rivers of Commotion drama that has been taking place ever since this change of democratic government from the last administration in 2023 with the FCT minister, and then with Sim Fubara becoming the governor. And I guess all of us have followed all the various episodes of commotion, confusion that have gone on at the executive and legislative form of government, where you have pro Sim Fubara factions, as well as the 27 members of the assembly that seem to be on the side of the FCT minister. Now, basically, the back and forth led to a final Supreme Court judgment that requested non-payment of allocation to River States because they had not presented the budgets to the assembly, as well as the cancellation of the local government elections that took place. Now, to the extent that the 27 lawmakers were reinstated in a bid to more or less maybe get their own pint of blood, they issued a misconduct notice, which was seen as a precursor to impeachment, which led to some drums of war from some parties that if the governor was impeached, that there would be troubles. Already we had seen a security breakdown in terms of 2 pipelines being blown up yesterday, of which the president now came in and announced a state of emergency yesterday on behalf of the fact that the governor was not able to maintain democratic stability in the state. Now, the truth is, I'll just touch on various points. One, whilst the president derives his powers from Section 305, many have said that even though he can call a state of emergency, there's no legality or constitution provision backing the removal of the suspension of the governor and the state house assembly members. There's a history for that. And that goes back to when the Goodluck Jonathan administration wanted to uh, uh, suspend the democratic structures in the northeastern states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. But the then speaker informed him that he had no right to do that. So what happened was the state of emergency was declared. The military came on board to support the governors in quelling the insurgency that was taking place at that point. So even the PDP has come out to say that the president does not have those powers to remove the governor. However, um, we wait to see whether the governor or the State House Assembly will approach the courts, and we will see the final position on that. Also, the play out of this state of emergency means there will be some sort of militarization of River State for the next 6 months. They've appointed retired Vice Admiral Itebe to take over the place. We don't know what this means as regards the governance of River State, as regards the politics of River State, as regards the Treasury, because now what they've said is that he will not make any new law, but the presidency and the National Assembly will be the ones as the final authorities. Likewise, we wait to see today whether the National Assembly, which must give the president approval for this state of emergency, will take place. Also, the citizens of River State, obviously, we don't know their position, and the sentiment behind this is the fact that many of us know that the root of this battle was centered on the fact that there was some sort of agreement between the ex-governor Wike, and the current governor. But the truth is, whether they had a deal or not, and INEC and the courts have passed Sim Fubara as the governor of the state. And in his inability to administer without the issues that are coming from the FCT minister, who we see as the instigator, it fell short of some level of transparency when the president could not mention the second party to what has been causing this boiling over in River State, which is the FCT minister. So already by not mentioning him, somehow it gives the imagery that the president himself is an interested party and that he is tainted. Likewise, the people of River State, who are actually the full benefactors of their own government, to a large extent have been on Fubara's side. So I really wait to see how this is going to play out. But at the end of the day, I must say this, that it is incumbent, not just for the River State people to take back their government, but that the presidency acts above board in this matter. I don't know how far he can do that, but already from yesterday's statements, it's showing that he seems to have taken sides. And that, I believe, will not augur well, because at the end of the day, if some different parties or factions or militants or whichever people in River State give this a different coloration, at the end of the day, Rivers being one of our top oil producing states will directly affect the economic position of this country that has already been grappling or challenged with the revenue issue.
Thank you, Devo. Chitta.
Yeah, so I think that there are three key critical questions that arise from this,
I can't hear him.
and
You can't?
I can't hear him.
Oh, all right.
so there are three critical questions that arise from this, from my point of view. The first one is: was a state of emergency necessary? Especially when you juxtapose it with the fact that we've been having issues in various parts of the country, serious, as in serious insecurity issues all over the country. It is because, I mean, this is not the first time that a governor, and this is not to excuse governors demolishing state houses of assembly, but this is not the first time a governor is pulling that kind of stunts. This is not the first time that some vandals are destroying infrastructure. Why is it that it is in this case suddenly that Tinubu came down with the hammer? As Devo said, this shows that he's an interested party. He's not a neutral party in this matter, and that does not augur well for us. When you have a situation where all over the place, Nigeria has crisis in all 36 states, one way or the other. Yet this is the one that the president chose to declare an emergency. It's actually a problem. Um, Secondly, for a president who is so keen on getting investors into the country, he has performed an illegal act. This matter of the president removing a sitting governor is settled law because we have Supreme Court declarations from 2006 and 2007 in the cases of Fayose and Darie in Plateau. There's a reason why Ekiti is an off-cycle election now. It's because of the fact that under Obasanjo, Fayose was removed, Joshua Darie in Plateau was removed. The Supreme Court put them back. So why is it that, given that we have that this is settled law, are we going to see? And I'm not going to rule that out, but there is a possibility that we could see the Supreme Court reverse itself. And if the Supreme Court reverses itself on this, it will only add to the perception that the Supreme Court is in the president's pocket, which will not do well for rule of law in Nigeria. And that will have a very negative effect on our democracy, on any prospects of foreign investment. Unfortunately, people don't think that far ahead. Everything is just politics, just plain politics. Instead of him to tell his Minister of Federal Capital to sit down in Abuja and face your work, he's allowing him run riot all over the state that he formerly governed. Instead of letting his successor to do what he needs to do as sitting governor. Haba. There has to be a limit to executive rascality. And one more thing from our own history. There's something called political overreach. Tafawa Balewa tried it in the Western region in 1964. It did not end well.
Thank you. Would you like to add to that?
I wished Mr. President hadn't done this at all. Just go back, like Chita said, 2006 or 2007, either of the two. He categorically came out, he was in opposition then. He categorically said Mr. President at that time didn't have the power. He supported that idea or that pronouncement that the president have the power to suspend, remove, or even declare a state of emergency in a state unless the governor of that state has invited the federal government to so do then. So what has changed in his perception of that scenario that made him make this yesterday? The matter that he's going to talk to the National Assembly today or whenever, you can take it to the banks already. He's going to have his way with the National Assembly. That we know that one already, that he's going to get whatever he wants to get there. Then the other bit of it also is that the part of, in terms of the perceived or the implied partiality that Mr. President is playing in this matter. If you were removing the governor, or rather, let me use his words, if you were suspending the governor, you were suspending the State House of Assembly, but you were leaving out the man who kept for the past 2 years, had kept on instigating the State House of Assembly against the governor, who at every drop of the pin, at every drop of his cap, calls a press conference. Journalists, 4 or 5 people, sit around him, and all the questions they ask him is about River State. I think that if he's done that, it's not just a matter of telling him to sit down in Abuja to do his job. He should also be suspended from his job so that he can go home and meet the other people with the administrator he's appointed to sort out the problem. And then again, another thing, interestingly, I recall in 2006 when Major General Lurin was made the administrator in Plateau.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, Oluni was governor in the 80s, 86 or something
He was governor.
in
Yeah,
Oyo State.
he was governor. And
I
the first
remember
set of
very clearly
Babangida governors.
Babangida governors, yeah, that's 85 to 87 or thereabout. I remember him very, very well because, and I said to myself, you were governor as a colonel. Then they are bringing you back as a major general to come and be an administrator. It should
As a
not be
retired major general at the
attractive to
time.
you. He was already retired even then. So why, of all the options that are available to choose an administrator, an admiral, rear admiral, I think, that's the equivalent of a major general as well.
No, Rear Admiral.
Yeah, it's an equivalent of a major
Is it
general.
Major General
Yeah.
or Brigadier General? It's Brigadier General.
Is it brigadier?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's there's so many things wrong with everything that we can begin to pick out that would not leave this matter the whole day if it went on another day. But again, I wished Mr. President had not done this. And finally, like I always say on this table, why do we as Nigerians, as Africans, as Black people find it difficult to be able to manage ourselves? Why? I think that that's what all of us should be thinking about right now. That what is it in our genetics? Is it in our physical makeup? Is it our attitudinal problem? Is it that we need some form of psychoanalysis? Why is it difficult for people to walk away from a position they once held? There's hardly a state that within a year, since 1999, that the preceding governor and the succeeding governor had not had one battle or the other. There's hardly any. Why is that the issue? Why can't
Akwa
we
Ibom,
manage
actually.
ourselves?
Akwa Ibom, actually.
Now, some say that this is a
So
leaf.
difficult to remember.
Some say this is a leaf of a deep-rooted issues. In few sentences, gentlemen, what would you say this issue spells out for the entire governance of Nigeria?
We're sitting on a keg of gunpowder. And I pray that every time we approach that precipice, we've always been able to step back, at least since 1970, right? I hope that we don't lose it. I mean, it's just so difficult to understand. All of these things we're talking about is just that thing about learning to manage ourselves, learning to walk away from things. That's just what it is.
Cheta?
Well, it's the real issue here is about governing by rule of law or by whim. And it's clear that President Tinubu, has chosen to govern by whim. The problem with governing by whim is that, I mean, the very word, when you say something is whimsical, it could change. It's no longer, you want to govern with a compass and not a wind vane. Tinubu has chosen to govern with a wind vane, which means that the breeze can turn the other way. One of my best quotes, and forgive me, is from the book from the 1960s, a man of all seasons. Richard Roper was clearly a bad guy. Richard Rich was clearly a bad guy. And
Sorry, I can't hear him.
Thomas More's wife and daughter and son-in-law asked Thomas More to arrest Richard Roper, even though at the point in time Richard Roper as Richard Rich, why do I keep saying Roper? Roper was Thomas More's son-in-law. Asked him to arrest Richard Rich, even though at the point in time Richard Rich had not done anything. And Thomas More said something. Laws exist to protect us and to protect our enemies. Even if it is the devil that is doing something, I will not break laws in order to get at the devil if the devil has not yet committed a crime. Because the day you finally get to the point that the devil gathers strength and turns around to face you, you would have broken those very laws that would have protected you. This thing, and again, I pointed to our history, 1964. This thing, there will be a blowback because it has actually become an ethnic thing. The Ijaw people, of which Sim Fubara is Ijaw, are not very happy about this. So the question becomes the dynamics of Ikwere versus Ijaw in Rivers. How does this play into that? We have to look at all these things. And I'm sorry, the president did not look at all of this. He just looked at the short-term political gain for his person.
Mm.
It will be a problem going forward.
Well, this is definitely a record, taking 20 minutes to analyze one story.
Well, the importance of the story cannot be overstated.
Yes, and that's why we're taking time to understand what this spells out. Well, you can join the conversation, and that will be you sending your messages, truckload of them, on WhatsApp. Okay, so we will quickly take some and then go to the other stories that we can take. Adenike is saying hello to you, Cheta.
Hello,
Adegboyega
Adenike.
Adedeji says, I don't think the news of a state of emergency in Nigeria, in Rivers State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should come as a shock to those that have been following the power play and court case between Governor Fubara and Wike, the FCT minister, in whom President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is well pleased. The whole matter was planned, and in the absence of the effectiveness of the court rulings, a civilian coup d'etat is the option, and that is what happened yesterday. The question is, what is the interest of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in River State? Peace or oil? Mr. Ajayi Olonula from Magodo GRA Sherry says, good morning, Oluwaseun. Good to hear you once again, freshly pressed. Once the Supreme Court has pronounced on the illegality of spending the funds of River State without an authorization from the duly constituted House of Assembly, the position of Governor Fubara became untenable, and it's either he is impeached or a state of emergency is imposed to prevent the breakdown of law and order. Then Life says, if Constitution didn't allow Goodluck Jonathan to remove governor in Borno State, then which Constitution does Tinubu operate? Tony from Ikeja says, good morning. Wike should have been the first to be suspended in the River State political crisis. It's now clear to all that the Wike is in power to replicate Baba
Sokwe.
in River State. Everything in this country has always been made to look upside down by crooked leadership. And finally, Rexy from Surulere says, all the grammar and law in the world would not save all of us and the economy if we don't keep the oil flowing seamlessly from rivers. That's an unbeatable fact. The president has taken a position. Whether he has taken a side you like or not, it's his prerogative to take the executive decision, just as it's yours to rant about it.
You see, this is where our short-termism comes into play. Okay, let's talk about oil. What is Nigeria's current budgetary allocation for oil? Is it not predicated on $70
$70.
$75 a barrel?
75?
Yeah, $75 a barrel, and a production of 2 million barrels a day. Rivers State accounts for Akwa Ibom is the largest oil producing state, followed by Delta, then Rivers. But Rivers State accounts for a significant portion of our oil production. Now you have that. You have global geopolitics. The Americans are very vested in bringing down the price of oil. Oil is trading in the high 60s or in the low 70s. So already we are not meeting up our benchmark already, and then you now create a crisis in one of our major oil producing states, which could short the production that we expect, of which we were not even meeting our production target. We're not meeting the 2 million barrels per day. But then people are saying, oh, the president is doing what he's justified in doing what he's doing so that the oil will keep flowing. But yeah, we see the oil they flow now.
Yesterday,
you are not budget. We're not looking at the whole thing holistically. Bottom line, what we need, remittances for the past 3 years now, remittances have surpassed oil for Nigeria's revenue. One of the big forms of remittances, or one of the things that we need that everybody knows, is FDI. We need FDI, but there's no single foreign direct investor who will bring his money if he's not guaranteed rule of law.
All right, thank you. It's now 55 minutes past 6 o'clock. We need to move on, and let's
6 o'clock. Oh,
sorry,
wow.
7 o'clock. My bad. Let's go to this
Oluwaseun
one
is
coming from the
living in that
nation.
country.
And CBN, INEC,
She don't port go Ghana.
gentlemen now. We're in the same time zone. CBN, INEC, PDP, NNPC, NUC, NDDC, and others affected in Wike's Abuja land revocation. Olakunle.
It's interesting that it's former Governor Wike's name that's also come up in this next story. But it's also an indication, that story is also an indication of what we just said about our inability to manage ourselves. Okay, so and our disregard for rule of law, for things that are not that should be normal. Okay, so you have a CFO predicated on you have this CFO in perpetuity as long as you pay the ground rent.
99 years.
Perpetuity
Okay.
is more than a generation.
Well, fair enough.
So you have it, but on the condition that you pay ground rent annually. And here we are in this story. We are seeing names. All of them are government agencies. Majority of them. They have 8,000, about excess of 8,000 names on the list that have defaulted for between 0 and 40 years. How old is Abuja itself? Abuja is 1976 to date. Yeah, that'd be
76,
yeah. Okay, 76 to date. So imagine that there's been some organizations that have got land allocation since 1976 and have not paid ground rent even once. So you can also look at it from that perspective, our disregard for simple rules that we know, because we think that nobody is going to catch me. Then even if they catch me, nothing is going to happen. And now it's pleasing to hear, at least from the perspective of what we know from this report, that there's a punishment. Your CFO has been revoked and there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to go and queue and reapply again. What happens to those parcels of land now is another discussion on its own. But you see, we need to start to learn to obey rules, to manage ourselves properly. If we don't do it, is what leads to all this that we politicize everything.
At this point, we'll quickly.
But Sean, can I just say one last thing?
All right then.
Because of time. You see, I'm happy it's Wike in Abuja because yes, he's following the rule of law. But you see, my issue is the presidency. You cannot expect compliance with the rule of law in Abuja, the FCT, okay, which is actually sane, and then find offenders of misrule in river states at the end of the day, which means at the end of the day, you're not going to get the response that you're looking for. My interest in rivers is not the disagreements between two politicians, that's the governor and Wike, right? Because at the end of the day, what was the root of the problem? The control of the river state resources. So at the end of the day, we must be careful the actions that we take as executive and leaders in this nation at state level and at federal level. Mind you, many people should remember what happened in Osun State a month ago when the APC attempted to take back the local government. There was a backlash from the PDP, which led to the death of about 20 people. We've not heard a court case about who was killed, who was murdered. We should be very careful because I believe those who make peaceful resolution impossible make violent, what do you call it? Violent actions inevitable. We must be very careful. I rest my case.
Thank you. And now let's quickly take some messages before we call it a morning. I will go to this one from AY, who says, the rule of law in Nigeria has become a complete farce. The legislative arm of government, the executive and judiciary have all been politically compromised. This has become the new reality. Ibrahim Zakari says, good morning, vibrant analyst. Another government abracadabra at play in River State. Please understand these shenanigans is playing out by Wike and the optics are not good for River State. Danger is looming. This decision is ludicrous, I believe you mean to say. Mm-hmm. Nigeria is gradually turning into a gangster paradise. Kunle from Ikeja says, on Rivers, we all know the cancer in the matter. He's ready to eat up his state by his statement of, I will put fire in the state. If care is not taken, same cancer will eat up the economy of the nation. Barrister Dan Okuda from Igondo says, good morning, crew. I keep on wondering what is in Wike that the president cannot call him to order. The president is not impartial in all these things. Anthony Abimbola from Anthony Village says, good morning, crew. I think the president pronounced a state of emergency in Rivers to safeguard the oil infrastructure, which Nigeria cannot afford to lose at this time. We need all the money from that area. Suspension of the state actors is to be able to humble them so they can see the problems from different perspectives. They are all feeling like gods in their own rights. And I wish Cheta can look at this issue differently and stop attacking the president. Fabian from Ekpe, yes?
No one is attacking the president. We have just
it's me that they called, though. Anyway, please.
We have just spoken to the facts that we know. The president himself, as an opposition leader, said this thing is illegal. That's one. He has the man who is the chief instigator on his side, and he has not spoken about him in the whole matter. That's a fact. So let us not excuse bad behavior with another bad behavior, please.
Thank you, Lakunle. Very well put.
Okay.
I
Moving.
don't have anything else to say in my defense. Lakunle, I've said everything.
Thank you. We shall now call him the defense of defenseless. I have Deji who says, I can feel the extreme frustration within the studio about the lack of intellectual development of the Rivers saga. This is not P-square quarrel. The sadness here is that innocent people will suffer.
Absolutely. That's the painful part.
Tony from Marine Beach says, the president has successfully cleared all our doubts. We now know who he really is. At least he should remember that being president is not forever. It's so sad and unfortunate. He has a very dirty being to clear when he's out of office. Somebody will explain Taya. Maybe a book to write like Babangida. We wait to see what the actions he takes on Lord Wike. Dotun says, if the president can't uphold the rule of law, who will? Sam or Dumebi from Ikeja says, he's an admiral equivalent to
He's an admiral.
equivalent to a lieutenant general. Rear admiral is equivalent to major general. He actually shouldn't accept such appointments. Maybe APC is preparing him to be a governor after retirement.
He's retired already.
Yes,
He's
he
retired
is.
already.
I think the president beats Obasanjo's advice to Fubara on the state of emergency strategy. And while Joseph Mehi from Silver Estate Ejigbo, Lagos says, 2027 loading. So rather know the core of the fight, rather separating the fight with a sledgehammer. Emergency rule in Rivers State, the chief instigator of the uneasiness in states, just because he is Wike, is now playing alpha and omega. Even the presidency is mute on all the actions and behavior of their steward. It's really unfortunate because it's not a fight between the Rivers State people versus governor, but Godfather versus governor because of power. I mean, I'm sorry, we cannot take all the messages. Please forgive us. And yes, we will. Okay, let me try to take one more. Someone, Olubumi from Bagada says, Cheta, I can't believe what I hear you saying. Oil should go away and we should focus on FDIs. We really should be balanced in our analysis. See what happened to those northern states where they left the governors after declaring a state of emergency. These governors are the ones perpetrating the crimes we are seeing, and no one is man enough to say this. Your analysis is becoming too lopsided. Do you want to say something?
I don't
Right of
understand.
reply.
I don't understand. This person clearly did not listen to what I was saying. Clearly, nobody said we should abandon oil, but depending on oil and breaking the rules in order to depend on oil, that is you're on the slide to disaster. The rules are very clear, and there are Supreme Court rulings to that effect. The president cannot remove governors, whatever English you want to couch it in, whether you want to couch it in English of suspend or the same.
remove,
Bottom line is he has
expel.
removed Sin Fubara for 6 months. That is illegal.
He has taken his executive powers away, and it is illegal by the Supreme Court judgment that we know exists in this country for 20 years now.
20 years.
2006.
We have to leave now, but thank you so much, gentlemen, for your take and analysis this morning. Thank you, Divo. Thank you, Cheta. Thank you, Lakunle. If you still want to check out more of the information and as well as some of the stories that are making the headlines, you can look at The Nation. Pengasan threatens nationwide strike over 10,699 Indian expatriates. And there is the one from the Daily Post. Senate moves to compel Facebook, X, Instagram, others to have offices in Nigeria. And if you go over to The Guardian, Ogun State sets March 31st deadline for herders registration. While still from the same Guardian, Cross River adopts e-governors, targets massive annual savings. We'll be back tomorrow on Freshly Pressed from 7:30 right here on Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Please note that 8:15 will be the time for Locker Room and Tiga will be joining us. Do have a lovely morning.
The headlines. the stories,
People have a listening
That was
problem.
quite something.
Or that they have a hearing problem.
No, people will always listen to
what,
what
what happens
Just
generally?
let them something can exist as a
Generally,
hearing
what? No,
problem.
what? It's not a. Yeah. So most people and Nigerians are very, very bad at this. Most people, once they hear who is speaking, they've already made up their minds.
I'm never going to agree with this
So you get,
person.
they've already made up their minds as to this is what this person will say. So you get, so it doesn't